If you're an INTJ or an INFP, you already know this. Love is a battlefield. You've likely faced failure after failure in your romantic relationships. But here's the secret most people miss. These two types, despite all their struggles, can form a deep and powerful connection under the right conditions. I'm not talking about soulmate theories or some pre-written compatibility chart. I'm speaking about specific psychological conditions that, if met, can make this couple work. But what happens when an INTJ meets an INFP? When two minds shaped by deep inner worlds and carrying unconscious patterns they may not yet understand come together in love? In this video, I'll tell you the whole story, why each of these types struggles in love, how they can match, and under what conditions that match can truly work, and the dangers and risks they must face together if they want this relationship to survive. Before we dive in, a word about the deeper psychology behind these patterns. Much of what I'll describe comes from the work of Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist who taught that beneath our conscious personality lie unconscious forces that shape how we love. One of the most powerful of these forces is what Jung called the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject or deny. But they don't disappear. They operate unconsciously, shaping our desires, our fears, and our reactions in love. In modern terms, you can think of this as the hidden parts of your personality, your blind spots, your unacknowledged weaknesses, and even your untapped instincts. If left unseen, these forces silently sabotage love. Jung also taught that we each carry an inner image of the opposite gender, the anima in men or animus in women. Think of it as your unconscious ideal of a partner, which you often project onto real people without even knowing it. When this projection remains unconscious, love becomes a dance with an illusion, not with the real person standing in front of you. And he described the path of healing and integration as the process of individuation, becoming a whole integrated self. Today, we might call this a profound journey of self-discovery, a spiritual awakening that allows you to love from a place of true presence and wholeness, rather than from old wounds and unconscious patterns. This is the deeper framework that explains the struggles we're about to explore, especially as they manifest in the unique love patterns of the INTJ and INFP. And once you begin to see these unconscious forces at work, the next step is understanding exactly how your MBTI type makes you vulnerable to them, especially when it comes to love. Your MBTI type doesn't just shape how you think or act. It also defines how you enter love and how you destroy it. It shapes how you attach, how you defend, how you idealize, and how you avoid your own shadow in relationships. And without conscious work, these patterns will control you. Silently, they will lead you into the same failures again and again, without you knowing why. INTJ and INFP are particularly prone to these hidden dynamics, and they trigger each other in very specific, often painful ways. To see this in action, we need to look at the specific love struggles of each type and why their very structure makes falling in love so dangerous when these patterns remain unseen. INTJs appear strong, independent, emotionally contained. But beneath that surface lies a secret longing for deep, meaningful connection, one they rarely admit, even to themselves. Their dominant function, introverted intuition, NI, builds inner visions and long-term frameworks. And when they fall in love, they unconsciously project these visions onto the partner. This isn't manipulation. It is the projection of the anima, the inner feminine image Jung described. The INTJ doesn't fall in love with the real person. They fall in love with the ideal image of that person, an image constructed in their psyche. At first, this creates a sense of magic. The INTJ feels they've finally found someone who matches their deep inner vision. But reality always intrudes. The partner, often the INFP, will show their human flaws, and the INTJ will unconsciously pull back, criticize, or withdraw. Why? because the real partner has now betrayed that perfect internal image. Beneath this lies a deeper fear, the fear of emotional chaos. INTJs crave internal control, and love threatens that control more than almost anything. So they deploy ego defenses, intellectualization, emotional suppression, perfectionism, withdrawal disguised as sovereignty. And unless this pattern is seen and integrated through the process of individuation, it will silently kill love. But the INTJ is not alone in this dynamic. The INFP brings their own deep vulnerabilities into love, ones that are equally unconscious and equally capable of breaking the relationship from within. INFPs appear warm, empathetic, deeply authentic, and they are. But their dominant function, introverted feeling, FI, creates an intense, value-driven inner emotional world. One where love becomes not just a connection, but a core part of identity. When INFPs fall in love, they don't merely relate, they merge. They see love as a fundamental part of who they are. They project deep hopes and ideals onto the partner. They over-identify with their emotions and with the partner's emotions. At first, this feels beautiful to both. The INFP offers warmth and acceptance the INTJ rarely experiences. But over time, this fusion creates dangerous patterns: loss of personal boundaries, emotional overdependence, and a subtle expectation that the partner will complete or heal their inner wounds. When the partner inevitably fails to meet this ideal, the INFP collapses into pain, often adopting unconscious narratives of victimhood or martyrdom. Their ego defenses include emotional fusion, where boundaries blur, victim narratives, and idealization followed by despair. And unless these patterns are made conscious and integrated through the process of individuation, they too will sabotage love. Now you might begin to see how these two patterns collide. But the real problem is not that they're different, it's how they trigger each other's deepest fears and unconscious defenses. Now here is the key. The very patterns that make INTJ and INFP attracted to each other are the same patterns that can destroy them. INTJ's need for distance and control triggers INFP's fear of abandonment. INFP's emotional intensity and fusion triggers INTJ's fear of losing autonomy. Both idealize, but in different ways. INTJ projects an inner anima and recoils when reality appears. INFP projects inner hope and collapses when the partner cannot carry it. This creates a potent, often painful cycle of mutual disillusionment. The INTJ withdraws, the INFP panics and fuses even more. The INFP emotionally spirals. The INTJ shuts down further. Both feel betrayed, not by the other, but by the unconscious illusions driven by their shadow and their unintegrated Anima and Animus dynamics. This is why these relationships often feel emotionally volatile, even when the love is real, and why most INTJ-INFP pairings collapse unless this unconscious pattern is made visible. And yet, despite this painful cycle, there is a path forward. If both partners choose to evolve, this relationship can become something few others can, a place of rare and conscious love. But here's the paradox. Because these types are so different, and because their struggles are complementary, they can also help each other grow in ways few other pairs can, if they choose to walk this path. INTJ offers grounding, clarity, structure, emotional containment. They can help the INFP build stronger boundaries and a clearer self. They can teach the INFP to differentiate true love from unhealthy fusion. INFP offers heart, emotional presence, compassion, depth of feeling. They can help the INTJ soften emotional defenses and confront the projected anima, teaching them to experience love as true presence, not as an idealized projection. But here is the non-negotiable truth. Without this inner work, without the conscious integration of the shadow and the withdrawal of the anima projections, this pairing will almost always fail. No amount of good intentions or love will bypass these deep unconscious forces. But make no mistake, without this work, the outcome is almost always the same. And to truly understand what is at stake, we need to face the cost of not doing the work. You must hear this clearly. Without this inner work, and this pairing will likely fail. Repeatedly, if the INTJ doesn't integrate the Anima and soften their defenses, they will continue withdrawing and idealizing. If the INFP doesn't build boundaries and confront emotional fusion, they will continue collapsing into pain and unmet longing. Unconscious love between INTJ and INFP becomes a predictable, painful cycle of longing, idealization, withdrawal, despair. But conscious love, the love that arises when the shadow is faced and the path of individuation embraced, can become a space of rare presence, profound growth, and deep mutual evolution. If you've recognized these patterns in yourself or your relationship, the next step is not to fear them, but to begin the real journey of transformation. If you're an INTJ or INFP and you recognize these patterns, you're already ahead of most. Awareness is the first gate. The next is the harder one, the path of individuation, the path of shadow integration, the path of softening the anima and building true emotional sovereignty. Are you ready to walk that path? This channel exists for you. Subscribe, because this is the psychology few dare to speak about, and even fewer teach you how to apply. And if you want to go deeper right now, I invite you to watch Intimacy After Awakening and 3 Ways the Universe Introduces Your Soulmate to You, according to Carl Jung, right here on this channel. You'll see exactly why your deepest patterns show up in love and how to begin transforming them. Remember, INTJ and INFP can love each other, but only if they become conscious enough to love without illusion. The real journey starts now.